Shalom everybody, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. We're up to page 321 of volume 2 of Rabbi Avigdor Miller's new translation and commentary of Duties of the Mind. And we are in Sha'ar HaBekina, the gate of examining. And we are looking at part 16 of chapter 5, which is entitled The Art of Writing. Now this is a subject that follows on as a close cousin, as it were, of our previous subject, the gift of speech. And now we're going to be looking at the gift that the Almighty has imbued into mankind, that of being able to capture language into written form. So let's see what we can find out now about this subject and see what new levels of gratitude we can reach in terms of being thankful to Hashem for imbuing us with what seems like to be an endless array of gifts and things that we kind of knew about, but we didn't really kind of meditate on or think about and sort of think through, causing us to increase in our gratitude toward Hashem and all the things that He's given us. And this keeps you away from sadness, from depression, from all types of dark thoughts and behavior, because you're constantly aware of multitudes of provisions that are given you from the get-go on a daily basis before you even get out of the house. Okay, so let's get into it. After this, think about the benefits of the alphabet and the art of writing. Note the art of writing is different from the wonders of the human body and other specifics of man that the author has been discussing up to this point. Some people argue that we should give mankind the credit for developing this art. However, the author views all that mankind possesses as a gift from Hashem, including civic institutions such as police and legal systems and certain civil customs. We are accustomed to think of bridges and roads as achievements of man. But the author wants us to know that it was Hashem who inspired mankind with the ability to invent and build these things. And this is one of the things, as a youngster, I used to get confused about, because I would ask my mum, I'd say, "Mum, who created the world?" And she would say, "God." And then I would look and see telegraph poles and houses, and I would go, "Well, God didn't create those things. Man created the telegraph poles. They didn't just grow out of the ground. That house didn't grow out of the ground." But in actual fact, my mum was right. Hashem did create everything, because Hashem created the inspiration in man to come up with all this ingenuity to provide various things that, help us live. So it's, and I mean, there's every chance that my mum wasn't sort of thinking that in depth on the topic. She was just sort of, maybe just wanted to answer my questions, because as a child, there's always loads of questions every day, and parents sort of get tired of them. But the reality is she was spot on. Therefore, we thank Him for the fact that there are fire engines and ambulances. They are all part of the plan of Hashem, and they are His gifts no less than the clouds, the earth, and the sun. Says this little notation here before we start. Now, Rabbi Avigdor Miller says the art of writing is a gift bestowed by Hashem. This encompasses various means of recording the sounds that people make when they speak. So we need to come up with something that captures the different nuances of the sounds of the words. So when somebody looks at images, it invokes those sounds, those appropriate sounds, depending on the shape of the image or the multitudes of strokes that make up that particular letter and word. If it's a fleeting sound, it's a smaller word. If it's has several syllables, it's a longer word. Thus, the power of speech is inextricably linked with the art of writing. We can describe the sounds of speech as vowels and consonants, which are combined to form syllables and words. The written text must recreate the thoughts that were originally expressed orally. Some animals make sounds, but no systematic patterns of vowels and consonants are enunciated in conjunction with these sounds. In contrast, Hashem gave man the ability to form a great variety of voice patterns from the basic vowels and consonants. Using these patterns, man can express unlimited varieties of thought. So this is a huge gift that man has imbued with human beings that separates him monumentally from any other type of animal. And we looked at that briefly in the previous video. A mute man may want to make someone aware of his presence by issuing a grunt, but people of speech can, with their voices and with their writing, express an infinite number of thoughts. And a good author will capture the mood of a situation and really pull in the reader, and the reader won't be able to put the book down because what they're reading is so compelling and is what they call a page turner. As my late rabbi once said, an airport hat thriller. That's what he described the Da Vinci Code as, being an airport hat thriller. I'll always remember that. Through the benefits of the art of writing, we can link the deeds and concerns of past and present generations to those who came after them. There are so many things that we must know about the past. So with writing, we're able to record things through these sort of marks on stone or parchment or hides, leather, a cloth. And we're able to go back and review those and read them, and even years later. And so it's like being able to record something without using technology. So it's had a huge impact on man's progress without being able to record things. And you can do this yourself. You can start writing a diary, which I encourage everyone to do. And it doesn't have to, contain all your deepest, darkest secrets. You can just write a fairly broad diary, and you can put things in there that may jog your memory if there's some things in it that you might not necessarily want the world to know. And that's fine. It's called, having privacy. But when you do it, you will find that even a year later, if you pick one or two of those, you open up to a random page and read one or two paragraphs, you'll be astounded what you forgot. And you go, oh yeah, that's right, I did this, I did that. And it was only a year ago. And then if you do it and it's like 5-10 years ago, you just have no memory of doing that. I picked up a book the other day, and in the front of the book, there was a letter that I wrote, and I can't even remember writing it. And I just went, wow, but it brought back a flood of memories. But even then, I wasn't really sure of the exact situation, but I knew it reminded me that something like that did happen, but I couldn't quite remember the context of where it was written or what time it was written. And so, being able to write and go back and review what you've written and being able to record things in written form is absolutely a game changer, as they say. And I hate that expression. I shouldn't say it. I won't say it again. I'll try not to say it again. I won't say it again. I'll try not to say it. It's a game changer. Oh gosh, they always do that when they're trying to sell you something. It's always a game changer, isn't it? Through the benefits of the art of writing, we can link the deeds and concerns of the past and present generations to those who came after us. There are so many things that there's so many things that we must know about the past. This is obviously true of the Torah, and it is even true of the sciences and professions. Human knowledge is built upon the experience of past generations. Human knowledge is built on the experience of past generations. It is like a tower built up from the bottom. Each generation lays another story upon the previous generation's achievements. It is like a tower, just read that. And therefore, the art of writing is a very important factor in preserving the achievements of the past. It's a very important factor of preserving the achievements of the past. And by means of writing, people can communicate their ideas to those who are not present. So generation after generation have been reading the Bible and be recalling the story of Moshe and the Exodus and the wilderness journeys and going into the land, and then Joshua and all the upheavals and the wins and the losses, the golden age of Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, and before him his son David HaMelech, and all his trials and all these things. We can relive those generation after generation. We can read those and be connected to our ancestors, and it's sort of like a link. It links us from one generation to the next, so we don't forget where we've come from, and we can put behind us the knowledge accrued of what we've learnt in previous generations. And it's not like we have amnesia every generation and we've got to sort of start inventing the wheel again. It could be that when such writings reach them, it will cheer them up. Oh, hang on, I missed a bit. Okay. By means of writing, people can communicate their ideas to those who are not present. Thus, we can know the affairs of people who are distant from them. That is, people who don't normally interact with. That is, people they don't normally interact with. They can also know the affairs of their relatives who are in a different country. I mean, writing letters isn't what it is today. Emails have kind of really sort of drowned out the art of letter writing, which is sad. Writing letters was such an amazing thing when you got a pen pal. Back in the sort of 80s and 90s, you were able to get a pen pal and write to somebody in another country, and it was exciting to get a letter in the mail. And now with the advent of technology and the speed to which we can communicate now, we're all we want sort of immediate gratification, and that's a kind of like something that many current generations aren't really going to experience the delight of correspondence by mail. Although, we get plenty of mail sent to us from Amazon and eBay and all these different places every day. So we still, the mail service is never going to be out of business. Such letters could also, it could be that when such writings reach them, they will cheer them up and know that their family in a different place, know what their family in a different place is doing. Such letters could also save them from harm by warning them of threatening conditions, dangerous people, or corruption. The written word is a source of spiritual guidance, the best example being the Torah. The Torah teaches us to be on guard against the corruptions of the nations of the world, as exemplified by the Canaanim who lived in Eretz Israel. That's the Canaanites. The Torah speaks of various abominations that they committed, such as slaughtering their children in the worship of idols. That example helps prepare us to cope with all the wickedness of the generation in which we live. Interestingly, modern day man have swapped the sacrifice of infants as a mighty gift to their false gods with having the infants being killed at the expense of ruining a girlish figure of a woman, or the fear of having to be responsible for bringing a human being into the world. They just have the baby terminated. So in ancient times, they were doing horrific things like killing their babies, but when they killed their babies in ancient times, it was a mighty gift. It was a mighty sacrifice. It was something that was worth a lot to them. That's why it was called a sacrifice. But in modern times, people get abortions, and they don't get the abortion. They don't have the baby killed for a god, a so-called god. They get the baby killed because it's a hassle. So I ask you, which is the more wicked generation? The previous, or the generations in ancient times who did that barbaric practice, misguided as it was, they were killing something that they had great value. They saw great value in. Whereas today, we're killing because we don't value it at all. I don't know, I just thought I'd bring that up. It's a very interesting situation. People often will go, oh yeah, it was really barbaric back then. Well, when you look at the abortion rate and the motives for which many abortions happen, it's sort of for flippant things. It's not because they're doing it because they want to offer this mighty gift that's coming their way to a God. They just don't want to go through the hassle of pregnancy, and they don't want their lifestyle to change, or they don't want to lose their figure. And it's sometimes it can be legitimate. It can be due to somebody, heaven forbid, being raped or something, but a lot of the times it isn't. The example helps prepare us. So there's abominations that were committed. That example helps us to prepare to cope with all the wickedness of the generation in which we live. We also learn from the written Torah how to follow the example of the earlier generations of our own people and how to emulate their good deeds. Now, all this may seem simple and perhaps superfluous, but not in the mind of the author of Kavod HaLevavot. Writing has accomplished so much for us, therefore we have to thank Hashem for that great gift. Following the author's line of thought, we begin to see that the world is full of benefits that all come from Hashem. To take just one example, consider the benefits of having currency in the form of paper whose value is accepted everywhere. Isn't it amazing that we can walk into a store and buy valuable goods such as a suit of clothing, and the storekeeper is quite happy to accept a few slips of paper in return? I mean, when you think about it, it's quite odd that we have, these little kind of weird sort of funny pieces of paper, and, they have value. The paper is essentially worthless, and yet mankind has agreed to honor certain certificates sanctioned by the government as a symbol of wealth. The convenience of this arrangement saves countless hours of human effort. Even gold and silver coins are worthless in themselves. No one can eat gold or silver, and yet in exchange for these coins, people hand over wagons filled with grain, fruits, and all other necessities of life. How is it that people should hand over things that are needed for our preservation in exchange for something essentially worthless? It is only because mankind has adopted an unwritten treaty by which gold and silver are to be considered valuable. Hashem has put this thought into their minds, and as a result, commerce has become greatly facilitated. Otherwise, to buy a suit of clothing, a person might have to bring a truckload of grain. It was Hashem who originated the great invention by which people accepted currency. And as the Gemara says in Tractate Pesukim 54b, that the general acceptance of coins as a medium of exchange was decreed by Hashem. So the general acceptance of coins as a medium of exchange was accepted, it was accepted by mankind through a decree by Hashem himself. That's an idea that most people, even from people, don't think about. They regard these inventions as being the work of human beings, and so they give no credit to Hashem. But the author of the Kavod HaLevavot refuses to admit such a possibility. To him, all inventions were brought about by the inspiration from Hashem. When someone does invent something, it is because Hashem put that idea into his mind. Hashem did this either for the benefit of mankind, or in some instances to test mankind. When printing was invented, Hashem introduced it as a benefit and as a test. So it was a benefit, but it was also a test. And I dare say the internet was also a benefit and a test as well. An example of the benefit is it became possible to rapidly print complete sets of shas, which is another word used to describe the Gemara or the Talmud. Prior to the development of printing, a single set of shas was a lifetime work of many scribes and was so rare that even the Balei Tosafot didn't have the whole shas. Anybody who was anyone in the Jewish world, somebody high up, anybody who was anyone, I meant to say somebody who's on the level of the Balei Tosafot, they didn't even own all of the the actual tractates that make up the Talmud. And today nobody can have one. And today anybody can have one. We have to thank Hashem that today Sefarim, which are books, are so available and easy to buy. But at the same time, printing is a great test because mankind can promulgate all kinds of false propaganda and other wickedness. We see two opposite purposes in the development of printing, but they were both the work of Hashem. Therefore, we have to appreciate this gift as especially given by Hashem. This is a unique kavod halavavot attitude which the author expresses throughout the Sefer. And again, I refer to the internet as being exactly the same. It was given as a benefit to mankind and also a test. You can get a hold of the entire Shas online without actually holding on to any copies that you sort of have to lug around with you whenever you move. And it's just all on a USB. But with knowledge that's one click away, so is there also sheker, falsehood, which is one click away as well. So the benefits and the tests are becoming more potent as we rocket towards the coming of Mashiach. When the author speaks about the benefits of the written word for which we have to thank Hashem, he's also referring to the gift of being able to write. The ability to write depends upon having fingers that can manipulate in the right way. How do you hold your pen? When I was a kid at school, we at some point, I think it was in primary school, we got our pen license. You know, do you ever remember getting your pen license? But up to that point, you used a pencil, a sharp pencil to write. And then the teacher says, students, over the next couple of weeks, will be getting underway to get you all have your pen license. Like it was a license. You put it in your resume. Oh, he's got his pen license. Yeah, give him the job. And it was a cute little way of having young kids who are learning to appreciate now writing with a tool of some permanency. You know, you're confident enough to write now, and you're not rubbing out every 5 seconds, so we're going to give you a pen. I totally lost my place. Fingers, that's right. Every time we take a pen in our hand, we have to thank Hashem that we can do this. Every time you take a pen in your hand, and you get ready to write, you should be thanking Hashem for the ability to pick up a pen and be able to articulate it and to be able to use an implement to write. How many of us are doing that? I don't think there's many, but that's all going to change after this video. Through writing, various forms of human knowledge can be preserved in books. Otherwise, the knowledge would be lost when the knowledgeable person dies. Also, knowledge that is dispersed among many minds can be gathered together. Otherwise, only one person's thoughts would be available at a time unless all the knowledgeable people are in the same place. With writing, it becomes practical to collect the knowledge of many people and put it together. And this is how libraries came about. This is how libraries were invented. Huge repositories of information. A person could get lost in a library and just spend days there. Through writing, commerce is facilitated by recording business transactions concerning merchandise, loans, and purchase deeds. Also facilitated are marriage and divorce documents. The uses for writing are so many that they cannot be all listed. And we will leave it there. That takes us to page 325 to our next subject, hands and fingers. Well, that was very interesting. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that that's going to make you sort of do a double take and look at the art of writing and see how valuable a thing it is. And Hashem has created mankind with the ability to write and to help mankind, but at the same time test mankind and see, is he going to be responsible with the written word or is he going to be irresponsible? And we have all sorts of tests like that through the ages where different things get introduced, like the telephone, television, cars, advances in weaponry and things like that. So it's very, very interesting. Okay, so the secret word is fingernails. The secret word is fingernails. So if you got this far in the video, put the word fingernails in a sentence down below so it doesn't sort of give the game away and people sort of realize that this is a word that lets the actual author of this video know that you've actually watched till the end. So put it in a sentence, which is going to be a bit of a challenge. So I will know, and you will know, and Hashem will know you have done some hard yards learning with me today as we have studied some Torah. Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, Hashem willing, bye for now.